So she happened to come and show up and be staying with us like during the fires when we closed down. So she was just there writing down like what we were doing and everything. So she published an article in the Nikkei Times, and Mr. Sorry, Chikahara-san, right? He happened to read that article, reached out to Kathy and said, "What can I do, to support?" And of course, he was following all this thing. So, um, I had some investors who wanted to do like a very, very high, like sort of ticket, $25,000 a person kind of dinner. So I had reached out and said, "Hey, if you wanted to do something, you want to bring some chefs from Japan, one thing we could do is just bring them over. We'll do this, really big dinner, really raise, somewhere between 1 to 2 million, serious money. And then the next day, what we can do is a more casual dinner, which would be as a thank you dinner for first responders and people in the community, and that would be free to them. And then we'll do like the big fine dining meal, and then we'll do the casual meal. So I'm just waiting to hear back if we're a go on that.
Okay. Yeah, no, I thought that was terrific. All right, we're going to get, what's our time now?
All right, everyone, please take your seats. I don't know if you can believe it. I can't. This is our last session of the day, and we really have saved something extraordinarily special for last. I'm going to leave it up to Ms. Margot True to introduce our closing keynote, but I've been looking forward to it for weeks now. Before we bring Margot to the stage, just a note that both our closing keynote, Kyle Connaughton, and your effervescent MC, Ali Bouzari, will be signing books at lunch. So make sure to stick around for that. It's pretty special. So please welcome Margot Truout. Margot has been the food editor at Sunset Magazine for 10 years. Formerly, before that, she was at Savor and Gourmet. She's been recognized with several awards, including 4 James Beards, and has authored several cookbooks. So no one better to introduce Kyle Connaughton than Margot.
Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate it. Well, it's my pleasure and it's an honor to introduce Kyle Connaughton, the chef and owner of SingleThread, restaurant, farm, and inn that opened about a year ago in Healdsburg and was just awarded 2 Michelin stars. Having eaten at SingleThread after, nearly 3 decades of writing about food and restaurants, I have to say that I truly believe it shifted the paradigm for fine dining in this country. It's, in my experience, no other restaurant manages to blend such an incredible level of cuisine with such laid back, almost laid back, welcoming grace. There's none of the formality of a typical 4-star restaurant experience, and a dinner there leaves you feeling profoundly and unexpectedly comforted. What's also striking about SingleThread, particularly in light of this conference, is that tech and culinary science are very much part of the restaurant, but never at the expense of how it connects to its farm, to nature, and to the very old culinary traditions that it honors. It's a beautiful example of technology in the service of humanity. So I hope you'll warmly welcome Kyle Connaughton.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Is this, am I good to go on this side? Oh, great. Is this one on? Okay, thanks. Afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for joining us here to close this out, and thanks to CIA and Greg and everyone for having me here today to speak with you. A little bit about kind of the our view and our feelings on hospitality and kind of where we feel that the direction of restaurant experience, the fine dining restaurant experience, is going, and certainly where where we're trying to take it for ourselves. But a little bit about the kind of intersection of design and technology and hospitality, and how those things come together for us in our mind, and yeah, share that a little bit with you here today. So We are a new restaurant and small inn. We have five rooms there up there on our second floor, and farm. We have a 5-acre farm on the Russian River that my wife Katina runs. She's the head farmer along with their farm team. And really, our farm restaurant and inn is a way to bring together what we grow on our farm, and that day, that moment that you're there visiting us in Sonoma County to really express, what's happening in our farm, what's happening in the seasons, and really give you this kind of a sense almost of like kind of that fleeting moment feeling that yesterday was different than today and will be different tomorrow. And if I come back months from now or years from now, it will be a very different experience, very much tied to that particular moment, or when sort of a Japanese expression that's used that's fairly common that people have heard is ichigo ichie, which means generally kind of translates to like one chance, one encounter, and this really this sense of capturing that moment. So we're in Healdsburg, which is in Sonoma County, North Sonoma County, really kind of in the heart of the northern Sonoma wine growing regions. Like I said, we are a farm, a restaurant, and an inn. The picture on the upper left is our 5-acre farm. We're on a 180-acre vineyard parcel in Sonoma, just a few minutes from the farm. And we basically farm the land in between all the vine rows and the Russian River. So what you don't see right there is the Russian River kind of coming around before it goes into Healdsburg. So we grow there almost all of our vegetables, almost all of our floral, as well as have some orchard trees and quite a bit of fruit there, and about 100 olive trees, and all of our chickens for all of our eggs. And like I said, my wife runs that. And also, sort of importantly, we bring biodiversity to a piece of property that is monocropped with grapes. So, we often think of monocropping as being something that is corn or soybeans, but monocrop is a very simple word, one crop, and that can apply to grapes as well. So we bring a lot of biodiversity to what is otherwise 180 acres of vines. And this is our dining room at the below here, which about kind of 54 seats, and then we have 5 guest rooms as well. I'm going to share with you a short video that we made. Happened to have a friend who followed us through 2 years of that. We built the building, we built the farm from scratch. We took a fallow piece of land on these vineyards where they couldn't pull vines too close to the water, turned that into the farm. Really started this project from scratch, several years into the planning, and then 2 full years in construction. So we started the process of construction in December of 2014 and opened December of 2016, which is incredibly long for a small restaurant to sort of endure the building process. But we really wanted to build and hand make everything for ourselves. So we had a good friend of ours, Jason Jacks, who followed along in that process in Sonoma, in Japan, working with a lot of the various artisans, things, and just put together this short video here. See, this is 3 years ago. I had hair before this started. This is the first time my wife drove the tractor across what's now our farm. This is the building on the right that we built with our architect. And worked with the Avrico design team on all of our design. We work with several different artisan producers in Japan who make all of our earthenware. We cook in a lot of Japanese earthenware in the restaurant, as well as the dishware. This is the 8th generation master potter that we work very closely with on all of the handmade pieces for the restaurant. And then this is our group at Pilot. We've all spent the last few days with Ali Bouzari,
So he and I and two other individuals are also partners in Pilot, which is just a few minutes from the restaurant, the R&D kitchens. And then you get a little sense of sort of the farm and the river here. The team we do a lot of foraging. We have a full-time forager, but also the team likes to do a lot of diving and kind of going out for our own ingredients, sea urchins, diving by kayaks, and that sort of thing, to really sort of bring the nature of Sonoma County inside of our restaurant. This is an artist here in Napa who took clay from our farm and then turned that clay into these handmade tiles, and then glazed that with the clay from the farm as well, and created some of the walls inside of our restaurant. And some of our chefs and the team at Pilot also did a lot of the woodworking for the restaurant as well. This is what the farm looks like if you went there today. And most of our cooking is done either in open fire hearth or in Japanese earthenware called donabe. And our experience in the restaurant begins by bringing actually guests up to our rooftop gardens to have their first course. So there's a lot of movement through the property as the guests dine. So I apologize in advance if I'm kind of moving quickly here. It's a little bit longer of a presentation, so I'm going to kind of consolidate some things down here. So one of the big things for us that we kind of believe for us and really believe kind of industry-wide in the future of fine dining, at least, is that really what guests are interested in now in terms of destination dining is really about authenticity. If you look at the restaurants that people are kind of the most passionate about, and whether it's Michel Bras in France, or Kaiseki restaurants in Kyoto, or Favakin in Sweden, Mugaritz in San Sebastian, all of these restaurants kind of share this element of kind of travel and journey to get them, and that the journey is as important and as fun and enjoyable as the actual destination and the experience itself. And it's really about making that destination really a part of the experience, and that when you then get there, that restaurant so sort of embodies where it is. If I think of any of those restaurants that I just named off, their cuisine and their experience there very much embodies where it is that they are. And we use this term a lot now, kind of a sense of place in there. And while that term might be a little overused, it's a very accurate term. We came to Sonoma County to farm there and to cook there and to use the ingredients primarily from there to really give that Sonoma experience for when a guest comes from us. And as I go through, that authenticity is very an important part of the dining experience for us and for our guests. This is an 8th generation master potter that we work with. there who makes all of our handmade pieces. And we have that relationship with them. We cook with that, and we transfer that relationship and that information along to our guests. And that's a bit of like, I guess, a sort of chain of authenticity that we like to think of it as. We don't sit down and say, how do we be authentic? That's if you're sitting down and having a meeting that's where you say, the purpose of the meeting is to say, how can I be authentic? Then you're probably not going to end up with that. It's really about doing what you feel is the right thing, by your guest. We really seek to create immersive experiences. Sorry, I can just be reading this right here. We really feel that the modern diner and traveler is seeking experiences over traditional luxury. It used to be in the world of fine dining that like luxury, high-end fine dining came with a lot of luxury ingredients and luxury things, big chandeliers and all these kind of opulent things, and that was fine dining, and that was kind of where fine dining, at least in the Western world, not so much in Japan and other places, but for us now, really that this kind of these experiences that one might still call luxury are really more again about this sort of authenticity and the experience and being immersed into that experience is now what the sort of destination diner is looking for. And as I said, the journey is as important as the destination, that it's of its place and of its time when you come to visit us. When you come to see us in fall, like right now is a very exciting time as we're really making that full transition into fall. You really feel that through the floral, through the food, through the ingredients, and the way that we incorporate a lot of floral into our cooking. The guests are really looking for create memories and share stories, and that's part of our obviously our social media and our sharing culture that we have now. Is they want to be a part of something that's a memory, and they want to be able to share that either with their group of friends when they come back for it, or through their social media platforms. And that doesn't mean about making Instagrammable food. It's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about creating experiences that really have to do with ultimately creating memories. And that with that, there really is authenticity and transparency. And I'll show you what I mean about our transparency in just a second here. And that the guests themselves are engaged in the process, that they're not just a passive participant here, sit down, and we just give you this, pay your bill, and leave. They want to be actually engaged in the process of what they're experiencing to feel really a part of it. So in terms of authenticity and as it regards to transparency, the way that we designed our kitchen and the way that we designed our experience was that really a feeling that you were coming into more of a dinner party rather than you were coming to this restaurant where you felt you needed to sit up straight and speak in hushed tones or whatever it was, that you really could feel and immediately feel very relaxed. And then the transparency for us, everything really for us is driven by hospitality and not by the cuisine. So hospitality was really the driver. This is a chef and a farmer and a team which has really become a family welcoming you into our home. And to do that for the culinary side, we built a kitchen that was completely open, that the guests could see what we were doing. They could walk in, we could walk out, that there was that real transparency. But for us internally, for cooks, to be able to actually see and engage the guest, because oftentimes in a kitchen what happens is you're behind a wall, you've got a little machine, it pops a ticket up and it says, all right, fire 2 duck. And then you just make 2 duck. It's totally it's not for anyone. It's just, it goes out a door and that's it. So in a cook's mind, it loses the importance that or the impact that that's going to a human who's sitting and enjoying a birthday or whatever it is. And it creates friction with the front of the house, and it creates a lack of sort of sympathy and sort of compassion for who it is that you're cooking for. And oftentimes something like an allergy is regarded as an inconvenience. Here we completely open it up, and I hire out my culinary team based on what I call an aptitude for hospitality, genuine hospitality, which I'll talk about in a second here, but that they care about serving people, not just working in a restaurant for their resume, and that they are actually seeing the guests that their food is going to, and the guest is watching them, and that they're seeing their actions. So we kind of started with this simple mission to place hospitality above all else, make everything a genuine and authentic experience, and to welcome guests to our home. And we thought that that was something that was really needed in the fine dining, was like, you're not going to this temple of cuisine. You're coming to a dinner party. You're coming to our home. You can relax. You know, we're here to take care of you. We're here to make sure that you have fun and that you have a great time. And that's what it's all about. It's about having fun for us. So for us, delivering on a promise of authenticity means sourcing of materials, where those come from, whether it's our food materials or things, our earthenware, our dishware, our wines, this idea of the modern artisan and us working with them and that connection. And it isn't just about to be able to tell that story to the guest. It's about a level of care that we then have with their products, whether it's coming from our own farm or from some artisans. We kind of follow a maker spirit. We support artisans and we create ourselves. We make a lot of things ourselves, but we don't own things. We don't buy things from a catalog and then just feel like we own it. If we don't have that connection with the maker, we just don't get things that we don't have that connection with. And then we make all the stories and the experiences that we share with our guests around that what we create. So the things that we share with our guests have to do with the people who are involved in creating the things that we're sharing, not just a list of ingredients or just explaining what a dish is. It's really about us being able to tell the stories and to share these important things about the various artisans who are involved along the way. So on the upper right, this is my wife, Katina, in her farm. You know, her ingredients go into, you know, the earthenware that we work with this family in Japan, and whose site is a cultural heritage site. They're kilns, actually, who fire us all these clay pots, and then incorporating our ingredients that we grow with other local ingredients and some artisan products from Japan, along with all the various beautiful things that these craftsmen create, which if we don't support, it can very much become a sort of lost art. I'm going to try to get quickly through this, although this is one of our big themes here. You know, genuine hospitality is very different than great service. We often talk about things about being great. You know, how was the food? How was the service? It was a great service. Service for us, great service means steps of service. You know, and for us in a restaurant is did they mark you with the proper cutlery at the right time? Did the wine come and get poured and explained right before the dish came? You know, is the timing all that? Is it the steps of service? That's a technical element of service. Hospitality is a much different thing. They are not the same thing. Hospitality has to do with a genuine need to take care of people. And oftentimes people in our industry do not necessarily have that. They may have the technical skills, but they don't have that inside of them. I need to take care of people. I need to make people happy. I love to throw a party and create a situation for people to just relax and enjoy what it is that they're doing, or to make them comfortable, or to do whatever. And we really look for people who have an aptitude, again, as I say, for genuine hospitality, who really have that need. And that's more important to me than having someone with just great technical skills, which can be learned. Genuine hospitality cannot be learned. For us, very much, we believe that the future of bookings is this kind of concept. We don't say tickets, but oftentimes it's said as tickets. For us, guests pre-purchase their room if they're staying with us, and the dining experience. And the reason for that being is because that commits the guest to us and commits us to the guest. And at that point, then we begin communication with the guests via email about dietary restrictions and allergies and aversions, preferences, things that they're celebrating, things that they want us to know. And then once the guest arrives, we don't have to have those conversations, many of which are negative. No one wants to talk about their lactose intolerance at the table with a group of people. So we get that out of the way, and then we create these 11-course menus for our guests based on the information that they give us. So each menu is custom tailored to each and every guest as much as it needs to be. Pescatarian, vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free. I don't care about any one of those things. It's about creating a menu that guest is going to enjoy. You don't like oysters and sea urchin? No problem. You know, we have many ways to work around that. So, you know, every night we're creating 50, not completely unique menus, but individually tailored menu, and that's part of our hospitality, and having the guests pre-book that allows us to go through that process and engage the guests like that, build anticipation for the experience, and then take care of them in such a way where now at the end, when they're done, they're just done. They just walk out. There's no bill or anything. If you come to a dinner party in my home, at the end, I'm not going to present a check to you, right? You're going to get up and you're going to leave. And that's the way that we try to do it there. And I put the picture of the room because we do that in our rooms the same way. All the coffee, tea, there's Pliny the Elder beer in the fridge. There's wine in there, the beautiful breakfast, all included. Netflix account that's open, an Apple TV account, all those things, it's all inclusive. So when you're going around in your room, you really feel like you're in our home. You're not looking at, oh, cool, they have Russian River Pliny the Elder in here. Oh, it's $14. Don't want to spend $14 on a beer. All those things really detract from the experience. So that's about eliminating processes that detract from the experience. In our check-in process and procedure, we have done all of these things in advance. So there isn't a credit card for incidentals and can I see your driver's license. We've had this rapport and this communication. Any one of those things steps along the process where I need something from you as the guest, takes away from your time to experience and enjoy. So we've really worked to use technology and leverage that to eliminate all of those different processes which may detract. Sure, it only takes 3 minutes to do that, but that's 3 minutes of your time that I'm taking for me. So we try to eliminate all of that. Again, with the pricing, 3 minutes of you having to look, to see if, do I want to pay? Hey, do you want this beer? It's $14. It's that really detracts from your experience. And then, again, I think I kind of covered already the thoughtful interactions with the guests before their experience. This is how we kind of build anticipation. For us, for all of you, really the modern luxury is time. Maximizing the guest time and what we choose to do for our guests and what we choose not to do for our guests is really what we look at. And we kind of think of your time and your time away to decompress and deconnect as your greatest luxury in life, as all of our greatest luxury in life. It's not about giving you luxury things. I mean, you're going to come and have very nice things with great ingredients and all these things. But really, it's about about your time, about maximizing your time. If you're there to celebrate and have this connection with the people that you're with, we're there to set the stage for that, not to be interrupting you constantly with things that we need. So we try to do all of these conversations and things in advance so you can maximize your time. And then, time too, as I was saying, about the sense of time. I mean, this is a dish that you would only have for 2 weeks at a very particular time when both the plum blossoms and the cherry blossoms are happening at the same time, which allows us to incorporate floral. We actually run floral as a station in the kitchen, like you would have, your sauté station, your caramelization station. We have 2 florists who are working in service, who are creating and incorporating floral into the experience to really give you that sense of that moment in time, which it's easy for us to disconnect from that, even being here in California. I need to kind of keep moving here. So we had this, the ability to really build this and design this from the ground up. We took the opportunity to really design with intent, the intent for the hospitality experience, and really incorporate elements of the sort of multisensory aspects of dining. I mean, we often talk about a dining experience as how was the food, how was the service. Food was good, service was bad. But there are all these other factors: sight, sound, smell, context, feeling, the tactile sensations of the table and the chairs and the height, all these things that play into how we experience something and our level of enjoyment for that, which are, I worked for Heston Blumenthal for 5 years as his head of R&D, and he was obsessed with this idea of the multisensory aspect of dining, which at the Fat Duck, if you've ever been, is in a very overt, in-your-face kind of way. And here, we try to look for ways with using directional speakers above each table, working with lighting designers to have the evening go through 7 very subtle lighting changes, really look in the fabric and the angles of everything to ergonomically make it very pleasing. And those are things that are not revealed to the guests. They're just there. Food and service, as I said, are really only the beginning. It's about delivering beyond the basic expectation. As I said, our breakfast is included in the price of the room, which oftentimes if you see something is included, breakfast included, you can pretty much expect that that breakfast is going to be like, a day-old croissant and some orange juice and some, coffee station. Your level of expectation is low when someone tells you something is included. You expect the lowest of whatever that is. And what we wanted to do is because we are doing it all inclusive, to actually flip that and deliver on the highest. So we do a few different breakfasts. We have a Japanese breakfast that we do. So if you order the Japanese breakfast, it comes and it's quite elaborate, and there's a lot to it and a lot going on, and as much thought and care is put into the breakfast as put in your meal the evening before. And in that way, we really capture the guests by delivering beyond their expectation, which, I wouldn't say it would be, low, for knowing where, what they've paid, but certainly we aim to go way well above. And the cost of doing that is, honestly, it's so minimal to over-deliver in that area that, and what you reap, first of all, that's not the consideration, but sometimes it's just so easy to just incrementally go up a few notches that I guess isn't. And I'm sorry, I know I'm running over. I'll get through these quickly. I'll look at Greg. Greg, when you get mad at me, you just glare at me. But I'll move through this quickly. So we really kind of believe that it's really fun to enjoy each moment and then anticipate the next moment. Typically with a restaurant experience, you walk in the door and you hit the podium, like this, and you go and sit down. And it takes you a while if you've been stuck in traffic and you're stressed out and, you're running late and everything, to decompress into the experience that you're about to have. Sort of knowing that, we designed a space to where, first guests could come up to the roof when the weather is nice, which thankfully is very often, and actually sit and enjoy a little sparkling wine and some canapes, hang out on the roof, watch the sunset, and really kind of get a sense of where they are in Sonoma County, and then relax for a while, anticipating that the main event is coming. So guests come into this room. The first thing that they see is the kitchen, and the very first thing that happens is you have one of the youngest cooks is handing you a welcome drink through the window, and usually something we make from our farm, and it's just a little something to kind of peek into the kitchen and have that first point of contact not be someone in a suit, but someone young who's on the pastry team, and then we have the door closed. And then the big, kind of this big old growth redwood door, and then you can kind of reveal the next piece, and then bring you in and sit you down. And then when you sit down, actually your first course is already all laid out for you on the table. So we communicate from the roof to the ground floor via Slack. We use Slack as a platform, and we send that information via Slack, and I can see the Slack feed. So I know when table 17 is about to come down, and we set that, and we time it so that the oysters go down, so when you sit down, you have a cold oyster and all these things, but it's all kind of laid out there for you. And my wife builds these things in wood and moss and flowers, and then we incorporate about 11 different small dishes on there, so you come and sit down at your table, and it's to do a few things. It's one, to get some food to you right away. Two, it's to really give you this visual sense of here's what's happening today. Here's a snapshot of today on our farm in Sonoma County and what's happening. But also it's a way to break the ice amongst the guests, and it kind of becomes like an adult Easter egg hunt, going through and having all these things, and gives you a sense of knowing right away you're here to have fun. This is not an experience that should not be fun. So this is what, for a party for the first course looks like. And I won't talk through these. I need to get going. As I said, we look to ways to eliminate moments where the guest is reminded they're the customer. We try to do as much as we can pre-purchase, so when you're done, you just get up and leave. And you don't have to have that the worst part of the dining experience, which is getting the bill. But when we do, if someone orders additional wine, even that we try to make fun. This is an old style kind of Victorian sewing kit with a pin cushion that we've made. And so we kind of pin the bill, and then you slide your credit card and the bill in there. And it's meant to be something fun and interactive, but also kind of discreet. So to be this is like, you don't like this part, we don't like this part, but, you know, hey, we got to do it. And just a short piece then to close out. A quick philosophy, because I know we are really talking here at the conference a lot about technology, is, you know, our philosophy on the technology is that it's best for us, at least, that it's hidden. You're here to decompress, to disconnect. And I don't care if you got to use your phone at the table or whatever. We don't have policies on that. You got to do what you got to do. You want to take photos, you need to contact your babysitter. People need to do what they need to do. But our hope for you is that you're able to decompress and disconnect for a few hours to reconnect with the people that you've chosen to spend, you know, 4 hours for, or 24 hours with, and that you can really just enjoy what's happening around you. And so, you know, my feeling is that then guests should not be prompted by seeing us interact with a POS machine or you know, a handheld device, or you know, or when you come in, a computer and look up your name. You know, all these things. We communicate with guests. We get, you know, photos from their emails and you know, whatever. So when they come in, we can just say, hey, welcome, and go from there. There's no looking people up on the computer. If anything, it's a piece of paper. So at no time does a guest ever see us actually ever interface with the incredible amount of technology that's powering everything that goes on behind the scene. This is my view from the kitchen of all the different camera angles, from the parking lot to the front door to the lobby to the rooftop to the hotel floor, which allows me to control from where I am and communicate through Slack what's happening and what's going on, so we can anticipate what a guest may need. But again, all of this is completely hidden from the guest's view. And just my closing thought is, I have to remind chefs about this all the time, is that a dish itself will be forgotten, and that's okay. It's okay if, you know, we put a lot of work into our dishes, and it's okay if even a day later you forget what that individual dish is, but a feeling will be remembered. You'll remember how we made you feel. You might not remember everything that we cooked for you or anything of what we cooked for you, you know, weeks or months or years later, but you will remember that experience, and if you're reliving that experience, how everyone made you feel will be remembered. And I really hope that you know, we can sort of help our industry become less focused just on what's on the plate and really more about what the guest experience is and how we make them feel. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Kyle. That was a fabulous way to end, and I think particularly to end on where we've had so much focus on the future, to bring us back to the present, and focus and sort of end on those sort of deep notes, deep values around hospitality. As we come to the end of this conference, a few thoughts. First of all, we hope that these 3 days have helped you rethink food and also your part, your company's role in helping to push all of these opportunities forward on a broad range of frontiers. You know, it's just so many different people added such, I think, depth of perspective to this puzzle going forward, and hopefully you appreciated all of that. A few thank yous just to round us out here. Our conference faculty, all of our amazing presenters who joined us from around the country. Let's have a big round of applause for everybody. Our collaborators at MIT Media Lab, Caleb Harper and Hildreth England. Our sponsors, with a special shout out to Google for their terrific food experience they created last night. Our dynamic MC, Ali Bouzari. A big thank you to our reThink program director, Nikki Briggs, who has worked tirelessly over the last year to really create an amazing curated experience for us. Thank you so much, Nikki. And finally, really a huge thank you to all of my colleagues here at the CIA. This is a big lift to put on something like this, who've worked over the last week and the last year, from our special events folks, all of our chefs and cooks, our strategic initiatives team. A big thank you to all of them. So Please complete. We really value your feedback on this, so I hope that every single one of you will take the time to tell us what you thought we could improve on, what you loved, what you thought was a home run, what you'd love to hear more about from us in the future. Either complete that on the app or there's a form at the hospitality desk. And now we're going to head out for our closing lunch. We have a sort of informal farm-to-table box lunch for you, and you can take that and then sit around either outside, depending on how the weather is, or inside. Enjoy that. We've got a couple of book signings. Kyle is going to be there for book signing, and also Ali. Thanks for coming. Safe travels. See you next year. Thank you.
This is Uncut with Matt Abdu at Pig Bleecker in the West Village of New York City. Having two restaurants is really kind of special for me because I get to really focus on all of my loves of cooking. Pig Beach is our Brooklyn barbecue spot, which focuses mostly on traditional barbecue but with our New York City twist to it. And Pig Bleecker is our refined, smoke-centric comfort food restaurant where we're taking all that theme from barbecue but refining it to make it something more unique. So I am half Italian, half Lebanese, and I lived my entire life with the Lebanese side telling me to sakdain and the Italian side telling me to manja, both of which just mean eat, live, love, be happy. There was no greater representation of love in my family than through food. It just really made me who I am today. Today we're making a smoked pastrami pork leg with a sweet and spicy barbecue mustard sauce. This dish plays very well on our menu here because all the processes of brining, rubbing, and smoking just creates such depth of flavor that it really jumps off the palate the second you eat it. And when people see brined, smoked, rubbed pastrami ham, it's one of those things that just jumps out in their mind of, oh wow, I want to try this. So we take the outside muscle of a fresh leg of pork and we first begin by brining it in a traditional pastrami brine. In our pastrami brine we have water, salt, brown sugar, cure number 1, black pepper, pickling spice, and smashed garlic. After it's brined, we pat it dry, season it pretty liberally with a house-made pastrami rub. The rub is what's really giving us all that delicious pastrami flavor and pizzazz. That combined with the smoke is what really separates this from being a traditional ham and making it something really unique. Our pastrami rub has kosher salt, ground coriander, butcher grind black pepper, sweet paprika, granulated garlic, granulated onion, Coleman's mustard powder, and light brown sugar. Season that pretty liberally, and then we place it in our smoker. Remove it from the smoker around 135 degrees. Let it rest for an hour and a half to carry up to about 145 degrees before serving. The mustard has yellow mustard, white granulated sugar, light brown sugar, apple cider vinegar, ketchup, kosher salt, Worcestershire sauce, granulated onion, granulated garlic, Frank's Red Hot, and ground black pepper. The outside muscle of this fresh pork leg is just smothered in love, from the brining process to the rubbing process to the smoking process, and then the applications are really endless in what you can use it for. It can be sliced paper thin and put in a Cuban sandwich, or it can be sliced and let on its own to be representative of a ham board with our country hams. It has all that love just wrapped up into one beautiful protein. So our Cuban sandwich has mustard sauce, house-cured pickles, our pastrami smoked pork leg, a roasted pork loin, and melted Swiss cheese. You're getting not only that succulent, smoke, roasted, ham and pork loin, but you're also getting that crisp texture of acidity of the pickles and that mustard with the unctuous cheese. It just really plays super well when you griddle that bread and it's got that crunch. It just makes you want to keep biting back for more. Me personally, I would love to eat some sliced ham steak or a Cuban sandwich with a rosé or even Pinot Noir if you wanted to go that heavy. Food has that unique ability to make you just feel warm and good or put a smile on your face, and I love that all my life.